Hi everyone, welcome to the Matchbook Horse Racing Podcast, joined by Adele, Mulrennan and Steve Jones today to preview plenty of racing. We're going from the Guineas Trials at Newbury to the Irish Grand National on Monday, where we will not have declarations, but we know what's likely to show up with runners jocked up. So we've got a fair idea of what's going to go and happen. I'll introduce the guys shortly, but let me get everything out of the way first. And that is, if you are liking our content, please do give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for free. You should know by now, but it does make it easier for you to watch all of our podcasts across all sports. And however you're listening to us, if it is on the podcast, please give us a 5-star review and follow on your preferred podcast app, whether that's Apple or Spotify. Just give us a follow. It'll download. It'll just be there straight away for you so you can listen to it easily. Go to insights.matchbook.com for a recap of all the bets. That's going to be, again, for all the sports up there, for the Premier League action this weekend, for the racing that we're doing now. That should be up there a little bit later on today. If you want a £25 free bet, comment however you're watching us in any comment section with your nap this weekend. Doesn't have to be in a race that we've previewed. And we'll pick the winner at random for a £25 free bet. And you can have that on any sports. Finally, just a reminder that timestamps will be available for each race and day. Check out in the description for the timestamps, because that's going to make it easier for you to be specific about where you want to listen. There we are. We're done. Adele, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. All good. I'm just glad the weather's starting to pick up a bit. These horses are desperate for a bit of sun on the backs.
Yes. And our viewers and listeners have been desperate for your return as well, Adele. So not to say, Steve Jones, that you weren't doing a good enough job, but people are happy that Adele's back.
Yeah, and me. I'm in dreadful form, so.
Oh, right. Yeah. You couldn't have said that in a more creepy way if you tried. I see what you mean. Yeah, we need some winners. Well, how was Aintree for you, Josie? In all seriousness,
brilliant.
Was it tricky?
Brilliant. No, brilliant. Noble Yates was my best bet of the entire meeting.
Right, he's taken.
Oh no! Unfortunately, it was my best bet at Cheltenham. I forgot it was not Aintree.
Oh God, it was
Cheltenham. Yep. So having spotted it running an interesting race at Leopardstown over Christmas and thinking that horse has been lined up for Cheltenham, I was a month ahead of my time as usual.
Now, Vicky has commented, on time again, ? Now, Vicky, listen, I appreciate the comment. And yes, we did go off about 4 minutes late. And I'd like to tell you the reason for that, Vicky. It's because Steve Jones piped up just before we started. Oh, Adele, I want to ask you if you think that Richard Fahey's horse stays 7, but which is what we're going to do on the podcast anyway. And then Adele kindly answered. So we basically previewed that race off air, but we are going to get stuck into it very shortly. Interesting race, but we will start with the first race that we're going to be previewing because it makes sense to do that. It's at Musselbrugh, and I tell you what, I found the Musselbrugh stuff difficult, in particular this Class 3 3-year-old handicap, because we don't know essentially where they are. It's a Royal Mile handicap. The prices are as follows. So you've got Kevin Ryan Baikal 6.0, Spirit Catcher 7.0, Atrium 8.0, Last Hurrah is the same, half point bigger for Desert Angel, and I won't go all the way down because we're going to give you 3 different horses here. Adele, welcome back. Who do you like and why?
Well, Paul's got a ride in this. He rides Desert Angel for Richard Hannon, and to be honest, I was looking at Mark Johnson's horse, Spirit Catcher, because his horses are in great form. He had a really smart winner yesterday with Trojan Horse at Ripon. So I'm keeping a close eye on his horses when they make their return. They seem to have all wintered well. I mean, the horses look absolutely fantastic in the coats, considering that it's only really now we're starting to warm up. Kevin Ryan's horse, I think, Baikal, he's a tricky character, this horse. He's got ability, but he can be a bit of a stress head. I think Spirit Catcher was probably unlucky not to be coming into it unbeaten, just got nabbed on the line on his run before. But Paul thinks that having had a run under his belt, Desert Angel, he think that can kind of be key for this race, the fact that he's got race fitness on side. And Paul said he's been quite keen in the past, so he thinks Musselbrugh really suit him, the fact that it's more of a kind of sharper contest there. So if you've got anything that is a little bit keen, they tend to go quite quick at Musselbrugh. Sometimes they can go too quick up front. And Paul thinks that this horse, he stays the trip well. It'll suit him there. And I think Richard Hannon's got a 50% strike rate at Musselbrugh. He doesn't send many up there, but when he does, they seem to run well. So I'm going to stick with Paul. I'll blame him if he's wrong.
You see, that's the out that you get. You can just blame him. You can just say, put you away. There you go. Steve.
Yeah, I'm going to blame Andrew Mullen then if Last Hurrah doesn't win. If we're going to blame the jockeys, I think that's a good way to be, because it couldn't possibly be my judgment that's out. Last Hurrah is trained by Archie Watson. I thought was certainly very consistent last season, ended winning its over 7 furlongs at Kempton on final start in novice race. Hasn't run in a handicap yet. And I think there's reasons to think that Last Hurrah, it can certainly be competitive off his handicap mark. And he got beat at 1-10 at Chepstow, but that was on very fast ground, and he actually bumped into quite a good horse that day called Sheer Rocks. So he has been in all right races, and he then went to Sweden, and then, as I say, finished off at Kempton when he won in first time cheek pieces. And the angle really in with Last Hurrah, he's nicely drawn for a front runner. He might easily get his own way to some degree out in front, not his own way, but I think that's probably the place to be. I know Mark and Charlie Johnston have got 3 runners in there, but they're not all going to be taking each other on. And I just think sometimes at Musselbrugh, when you spin round the bend over this mile trip, that you don't want to be too far back. And given that he's nicely drawn and he likes to go forward and he's got a consistent profile, and some of his forms certainly suggest that he could be well handicapped. I think Last Hurrah is quite a nice price, because I think he's about 9, is he? 9.0?
Ooh, I will tell you. Last Hurrah, you can have 8.0 match, but there you are.
I'll settle for 8.0. I just think it's an open race, and there's obvious ones in there at the top of the market, but I don't think Last Hurrah is too far behind them.
Okay, so Last Hurrah for Steve, Desert Angel for Adele, and I'm going with one of the Johnston horses. I wish Last Hurrah wasn't in there, because when the Johnstons have more than one runner in a race, particularly around a tight enough track, I quite like to have a go at a couple of theirs, because the perception is they'll go too hard, but they don't. They just control it up front. But Last Hurrah just worries me. I wish that he wasn't in there personally. But I still like Spirit Catcher, who's very lightly raced. We only saw him at the very back end of last year, which tells me they had to take their time, and he's likely to make a better 3-year-old. He's a new bay. I like them. They tend to progress quite nicely. 7 seemed to, he didn't see it out brilliantly at Chelmsford, but I think that's because he went a little bit too hard under the penalty. He still emerged best of those at the weights from that run. Definitely, it was just a 3-runner race. He was good enough to win on debut, and he's 7.0. I'd want to play small win and place. He's likely to get the run of things, or at least be up there. I take Steve's point. I don't think you want to try and come from too far back at this track. And he's completely unexposed. I know a lot of them are, but he really is. I could make a case that 87 first going to handicap was fair enough. So it'd be very small stakes, but Spirit Catcher for me. Anything to add to this one, lady and gent? Good. Right, let's kick on. We're going to flip-flop between Musselburgh and Newbury. So we're going to go over to Newbury for the 150. It is the Dubai duty-free finest surprise stakes. It's registered as the John Porter. Steve, isn't Il Arab one of your horses who did you a good few turns in the past?
Yeah, I like him. He's really good. I was a bit disappointed that he couldn't quite take the step up into group races until the last run of last season, when he won over this at this track in the St Simon Stakes. Because I thought it was at Ascot. I think he really disappointed me when he was. I think it was the Hardwick Stakes when it tipped down and conditions it was perfect, and he sort of lost his form. But he came back, and I think that's the point with Il Arab. I would be a massive fan of his on soft ground, but with looking out the window, and Newbury's not a million miles away from me, it's glorious. So I think we're going to be dealing with good ground, or it might even end up being faster.
All right, who are you with?
I'm going to take a bit of a chance with Stoll, who has only run 4 times. He really lightly raced, 4-year-old, and he was a bit controversial on debut because I think Robert Havlin got banned, maybe, or there was certainly controversy that he didn't win on his debut against his stablemate Polling Day, and then he won a 3-runner race at Ascot quite easily. And I thought that run in the Queen's Vase was quite good because he came from miles off the pace and was wide. The race really didn't work out for him, and he was still third behind Kamari of Godolphins and Wordsworth. And I just wouldn't worry about him at Newmarket because he got really worked up. He was keen and he tried to come from off the pace at the July course in a small field, which he's never going to do. And he's been off since. So he's been off since July, which suggests to me that there must have been a little problem somewhere along the line. And I think Stoll, who obviously is named after the Vesti estate, which is about 2 miles from me, where I'm pretty sure there's been some fantastic cricketers played there. One of them played for the Stage, I think, in the past. It's Stoll Park.
Captained.
Oh, wow. So it brings back happy memories for you. So Stoll for me.
Yeah. And I remember there was a guy playing for the other team, I think opened the batting. He wore a blue helmet, which obviously only...
See, you've now just made things up to try and be funny because I didn't play against you. I asked to play, but they said...
Oh, you weren't selected. No, you're right. You weren't selected.
They said it was such a Mickey Mouse game. It wasn't worth worrying about.
Right, not yet. Listen, I agree with you on Stoll. He was that horse on debut when Rab Havlin got a ban, quite rightly. And... it didn't look good, did it? And then John Gosden came out and said, "No, listen, I never asked. I always ask that my young horses are never touched with the stick on debut." And then cue loads of horses being touched with the stick on debut. It was all a bit funny, but there you go. It happened. He's a good horse. He obviously wasn't right in the Bahrain Trophy because they couldn't offer an explanation for the performance. We haven't seen him since. The Ascot form, as you say, is pretty strong. It was just a price selection. More that Ilarab, I'm not sure on the ground. I found Thunderous a pretty difficult horse to work out since that Dante success. Max Vega hasn't quite lived up to expectations for me. Raymond Tusk, I feel like we know how good he is. I just think Stow could emerge this year the best of these. It could be that his 4-year-old season is where he really comes into his own, but it wouldn't be a very strong bet because of the nature of the race. Adele.
Yeah, I'm not overly strong either on anything. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if Thunderous ran well. You know, Mark's horses are running well, but he is a hard one, isn't he? He needed his first run back after winning the Dante. Yeah, Mark's, you usually like to think they are always fit first time round, but he did also have blinkers on as well, didn't he? And he kind of over raced a little bit in those. So I was going in with Raymond Tusk because just the fact that he has got race fitness on side. I mean, he looked quite impressive at Doncaster. He's an old horse who's mixed it in with the top level over the years. I think that was his first win for 2 years, but you'd be surprised how many horses, when you send them jumping, how they decide they'll find it a little bit easier back on the flat. Paul certainly is an example of that. He had a couple of rides over jumps, then soon decided he could lose half a stone, and it was much easier on the flat. So I'm hoping it's going to be the case with Raymond Tusk, and like I said, just hopefully he's got race fitness on side. I think he's a bit bigger price than Stoll, so I'm going to stick with him.
I think
doesn't dry out too much. I think he probably is a bit better on kind of like. I don't think he would want it to go good to firm anyway.
No, I'm not sure they'll let it. Weirdly, they're keen enough on getting the watering can out. It's 20 degrees today. I wonder if they might put a bit on. They're both 7.0. There you go. But I'd be a win bet only given 7 runners. Is everyone the same win bet only?
Just a small one.
Lovely. Let's move on. We go back to Musselbrugh. This is the Silver Arrow handicap over 7 furlongs. Nice and open again with 10 runners. Another bat is 6.0. So that was fair enough. Jiao Checo, I said that right or wrong? Probably wrong. 6.0. Gobi Sunset 6.0. Guidor 8.0, 11.0, and bigger the rest. Adele, we agree with another bat. From memory, I think we agree with another bat. We do. Go on, you make the case, and I'll follow you in.
I think that's a fair price for him as well, isn't it? What was it? 6? Did you say it was
6.0? He's like
Yeah,
ultra.
6.0.
He's pretty consistent. I think this is his bag. I quite like he's had a run, as amongst others that haven't. There's still a bit of ease in the ground. He doesn't, he's versatile, but his last win came on soft. But I think this will be okay. I just thought he was pretty solid for a cheeky win and place bet, because I struggle to see him out the 3.
Well, the thing is, it's kind of like Gobi Sunset will definitely take them along, won't he, for little Johnny Pete? I mean, that horse is carrying absolutely no weight at all, so I presume he'll just go out on the front end and probably try and nick the race. But another bat, he's so consistent, this horse. The yard as well. Obviously, they're in the name of David and Nicola now, and I think out of the last 3 runners, a second, a first, and a third. So the horses are all running really well. He finished just kind of like just a little bit behind on even just enough upsides Brunch in the Lincoln, and he ran really well in a Group 3 race down at Newmarket this week. So he'll come on for the run. He's a big stout sprinter. So I think he's a cracking price at that. Paul thought Northern Express, if the ground dries out a little bit up there, that he could run a big race at a big price as well for the place market. He does like it to quicken up a bit though, so maybe just keep an eye on the ground. But Michael's horses are all running really well.
He is Northern Express is 13.0.
Yeah, he said he would if he runs well.
I was interested, and then it was the ground that sort of half put me off, because it's still good to soft at the moment. Steve?
Yeah, it'll dry out, won't it?
Should do.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I think like Adele, Gobi Sunset, it'll go along, but I think they'll go hard because Guidor and Gametra Ginty also like to go forward. And Gametra Ginty is trained by Keith Dalgleish. And I didn't really want to tip this horse that I'm going to tip because I got no idea how to pronounce it. Giotica, something like that. Number 1, anyway. And I thought that this horse had a good profile last year. Ran in the Britannia, ran miles down the field, but then that was on his turf debut because he'd won on the all-weather, and won over this course and distance, Musselbrugh, over 7 furlongs, beating a couple of Mark Johnson horses. But the next start finished second at Doncaster to Modern News, who runs in the Spring Cup at Newbury in while, and then went back later on after a break at Newcastle and ran okay there. But I think this horse will stay a bit further. But I think the fact that he likes the track and he's going to get a strong pace to just allow him, I'm hoping that he'll slot in kind of 4th or 5th and be able to use that stamina in the closing stages because he's got a bit of toe as well. But he'll definitely stay a bit further. And the fact that he does seem to go quite well after a break. His second to Modern News was after a couple of months off. His first win was after a couple of months off. And although this is his first run since December, I just thought that a lot pointed in his direction. The fact he's in a grade that he's top weight, so he's in a grade that he can handle, certainly. And I just thought the nice pace would suit him.
6.0 is another bat, and according to Mihal DC, he's written in Goya Checker. Thanks, Dees. There you go. He can't even spell it, so I wouldn't trust him.
Where is he? Good Friday. He should be on the clock. He's an employee of
podcast. He went, no, I need to get my head out of racing for a bit. Just have a little pause. And here he is, watching. Can't help yourself, Dees. It's because Adele's on. He was like, well, I'll watch if Adele's on. So that's it. There you go. We've got a proper tipster on now, so I'm taking notes. That's what his words. Right, let's move on to Newbury. I think we're going to have a look at some prices as well here. So this is the Dubai duty-free stakes. Prices for this will be interesting enough. It's the Fred Darling to most people. Right, Wild Beauty 3.6, Jumbly 5.1. I was hoping she was going to be a bit bigger, like her. Shara is 7.8, Nazanin 9.2, Majestic Glory 9.8, Miss Carol Ann 12.5, 13.5 heat at the moment. I'll leave it there. So, 3 different selections. Adele, the Godolphin filly, first of all.
3 different selections, because I think it's tricky. No, I mean, it's a lot of guesswork, isn't it, as to how well they've wintered. I find a lot of it at this time of year, you're kind of guessing as to how they've improved over the winter.
Did you when you were looking at them, say at Newmarket, do you find that you really get an angle on what they look like when you see them in the paddock, these type of horses?
Well, yeah, especially the fillies. You kind of, they've been wanting a little bit of sunshine on the back, so I can imagine a few of them are probably still holding on to their coats a little bit. There was a few like that down at Newmarket. I mean, Garrus at Doncaster, I mean, he was honestly, he was so hairy. I did the paddocks that day and I put people off him because he just was too hairy for me. I mean, he was so woolly. But then when you seen him down at Newmarket, he'd massively come on in his coat. It's amazing what a run does to a horse, gets their blood pumping around their bodies, gets the veins popping, and they can really bring their coat on, even just having a run under their belt. So I always think the horses that, like Johan, his coat, he still had his full on clip. So imagine what he's going to do after winning first time out, that horse. But what was most notable is when you looked at Native Trail, like when up against the horses now, you were expecting, because he towered over the horses last year, and then they actually have kind of caught him up now, the horses. He wasn't like a standout, wow, he's a monster, he's huge, he towers over the rest of the horses. He's still physically, very impressive, but he isn't like a massive horse compared to the rest of them now. So it's always handy seeing him in the paddocks before.
Yeah, I'll be there on tomorrow. Looking forward to seeing them. Who do you like? Well, no, you like Wild Beauty here. Why?
To be honest, I've gone through and I'm thinking, who have I missed one? I mean, Shara could be anything, but Wild Beauty, I suppose her form with Pisa Bianca out in Canada is good. She obviously went on and won in America. And then you've got obviously Cachet, who was in the race as well in America, and she obviously won the Nell Gwen. So I think there's absolute substance there to her form, and I think that the drop down to 7 furlongs will suit her as well. I mean, Charlie Appleby's horses are absolutely flying, so there's no doubt about her returning in good form. His horses look absolutely amazing. So I am playing it safe by sticking with the favourite.
She should be favourite, shouldn't she? She's rated well clear as well. I know Steve's going to come to that. I love those ratings, but I don't want to take her on at all, because she is the best of them. I just wonder if something might improve past her. And one horse I thought would definitely improve this year was Jumbly. Really liked her when she won at Kempton. A bit disappointed with her at Newmarket was that the Oh-So Show? No, it was the Rockfell. Get confused between these 7 furlong Newmarket races. But she ran well. She just did best of those from off the pace, and then down in grade she won really easily at this track. It was soft ground there. I had that down as a bit of a worry for her. Maybe you could look at it and say that actually she wants a bit of cut in the ground. I'm not convinced that's the thing. She was just one of the juveniles last year I was looking forward to seeing this year. She rocks up here. She's an attractive enough price. So I wanted to back her without as such wanting to take on Wild Beauty. I was hoping she'd be a win and place bet. She probably is just about. For me, she'll be there or thereabouts. So I think she's a safe play, and I'm looking forward to seeing how she gets on this year. Steve.
Yeah, I'm going against my default setting really, which is to be suspicious of horses that win first time out and then go into group races. But I was really impressed with Shara at Yarmouth last season. That was over a mile, so dropping back in distance to 7. But I think that might even suit her even better, because she did everything wrong at Yarmouth. She missed the break. She was on the far side. She missed the break. and she was given a really nice ride by Dane O'Neill because he just allowed her to get back into it. But she had to switch and switch and switch, and she didn't get a very clear run. And for a horse making her debut, I thought it was really impressive, the fact that she was able to overcome a bit of traffic. She came up the stands rail, so she's gone from stall three of 16 at Yarmouth to being on the stands rail, and she won really well. It's hard to know what the form's worth with a fillies maiden or fillies novice at Yarmouth, but there's a lot of good horses have made their debut at Yarmouth. So with John Gosden taking Shiraz there, and she was impressive, then I just think that that those that have shown form aren't out of reach. And if there is a Guineas winner in here, I think it might be her. So I'm going to take a chance on Shara.
Okay, Shara for the Fred Darling. Let's kick on to the next at Musselbrugh. So this is a 239. It's that 5 furlong handicap. Russell is 4.2. Zarzini is 4.5. Mackinac is 6.2. Fine Wine 7.2. Dakota Gold 8.8. 11.5 is Just Another Bottle and Copper Night. And Bigger Price is the rest. Russell, hugely interesting here. Maybe too good for them. I was a bit concerned. He's owned by some colleagues, the Horse Watchers, and they've done an incredible job purchasing him, and Mick Happy's done a great job with him. But I don't know. He's done most of his winning at Nottingham, first start of the season. He could still be way ahead of his mark. But this is a deep enough contest, I thought. Steve, straight back to you.
Yeah, it's interesting because Russell tends to need to be held up, or that's where Russell looks best. And for me, 5 furlongs at Musselbrugh, drawn 3 wouldn't be a massive problem to a horse that likes to be held up, because if you want to be held up and you stick to the stands rail, I don't think you've got any chance of getting through, or you need a huge amount of luck. So I'd much rather a horse on the pace. And the one I really like is the course specialist Mackinac. And the only reason I was put off Mackinac is because Adele put it down as a place. I think this horse will win. So winning place. But no, I think Mackinac's got an outstanding chance, because I think how many times has Mackinac been at Musselbrugh? I think it's 5 times. 4 times. Won twice. Never been beaten more than a head. Drawn 6, which I think is all right. It's down the middle, so should be able to get a position. Goes well. I mean, first time up last season, finished 7th of 9, but that was when drawn 7 of 9 at Chester, and didn't really have it. But before that, the previous year, it'd beaten Copper Night at Newmarket in a decent handicap. Before that, it won first time out at Thirsk. So goes well fresh. Great record at the track. And to boot, it's got the best jockey in the world on in Paul Mulrennan.
You'll be his best mate now, Steve. I only put him at a place bet because of his price, really. I mean, Russell, it's too short for me anyway. These sprinters, they run against each other all the time, and it's whoever you're going to get right on the day. Zarzini is a horse that I followed quite a lot, and I think he's more of a 6 furlong horse, especially like he won at Redcar over 6 furlongs. I know he's run at Musselbrugh a couple of times, and he's always kind of done his best work at the end, but they have put cheap pieces on him, sharpening him up. But I still think he's a 6 furlong horse, Zarzini. Copper Night, honestly, I don't know if anyone follows Tim Easterby's social media. This horse, he was absolutely burning up the gallops the other day. A friend of mine rides him out. I was thinking, what on earth is that? It was Copper Night. Honestly, I don't know what was in behind him, whether it was 2 donkeys or not, I don't know, but they were scrubbing the heads off them behind them. So I thought he looked absolutely fantastic. This horse is having his 64th start on Saturday. He's won 11 races. He handles absolutely anything that's thrown at him. So I've gone with him because he looked fantastic on what I've seen on social media. And then Mackinac, how can he not? Because he loves the track so well. Paul hasn't been ridden out there this season, but he's very confident with him having had the wind up last season. Obviously goes well at the track. And he said sometimes at Musselbrugh they can go quite hard up front. So he's just he's quite a straightforward horse to ride, and he likes the track. So I thought, and he goes well fresh, so he's a winning place on both probably.
Do you know what? Alex says Copper Knight's a good horse. Agreed. Do you know what worries me a bit about Copper Knight? I was like, Copper Knight's an interesting price. He's 0 from 4 at Musselbrugh, but maybe there's nothing in that because it should be a track he loves, right?
It should be, yeah. Like he seems to handle anything anyway. Like wherever he goes, he runs well. Tim's horses are flying. To be honest with you, I probably wouldn't, because of the fact that he hasn't won at Musselbrugh, I probably would have overlooked him, only for the fact that I've seen the video on social media and I thought, what on earth is that? And I seen he was going well, so I thought, I'll have him.
There you go. See, Alex, we do put in your comments, just not the filthy ones. I like a horse who's 0 from 1 at Musselburgh, but this is probably a nod to DC if you're still watching. Sunday Sovereign. It's just a horse that's going to crop up, I think, rating off this sort of rating. I know he won off 95 at Chester. This sort of track is good. He was third here behind Mockatil the first time that he tried it at the track when it was a small field, and he did what he does out of 1. I just think he'll kick on here and you know, he'll give you a good run for your money. I don't think he'll be too far away. Ground is right. I forgive him Donny and Air. I don't necessarily think there is sort of track. I think this is maybe he needs a run. He seemed to last year, but at 15.0 win and place, I thought Sunday Sovereign was interesting. Wouldn't surprise me if he went pretty close. Everyone's had a go here, right? Yeah, let's kick on. So we're going back to Newbury, and Angel Blur is 2.9 here, 3.1 Perfect Power. Lusail is 4.9, Flaming Rib 9.4, Gubbers 10.5, The Wizard of Eye 27.0. Right, Adele, Steve, Perfect Power, does he stay? Go.
Yes. We can't.
Yeah, come back to us, Steve. Come back to us. Go on. Oh, we still haven't got you. There you go.
Sorry.
Well, do you think he's do you think he stays? So this is a question at 7. I realise I should have pitched it. So I don't think he stays a mile, but I think 7's fine. Steve?
No, I was just asking Adele. Did she think it's obviously you do, Adele, but I was just interested because I couldn't make my mind up, because I think Perfect Power's got an excellent chance, and the fact Christophe Soumillon's coming over to ride it suggests that he does too, and Richard Fahey. But it was just one of the stats that I noticed last night. Our dad is a Perfect Power's sire. Now he's second season, admittedly, but he's had 55 runners beyond 6 furlongs, and he's only had 1 winner. But then, of course, most of them were running over 7 furlongs or a mile at 2. So I was just a bit suspicious of the stat and of Perfect Power staying. So I didn't know. And when I don't know like that, I don't want to be too keen to bet at short prices.
Well, I understand what you're saying with our dad, but his stamina is all on his damn side. She was a mile two winner, half sister to another mile 2 winner. Like this, I think he'll be absolutely fine with the stamina on his damn side. And as a 2-year-old, he wasn't the kind of 2-year-old who was showing loads of early door speed, was on the front end, being really gassy. He felt like he had to maybe get cover because he was always trying to do too much too soon. He was always running quite patiently. I mean, Christophe, as always, he dropped him in and rode him very patiently and produced him just on the line. So I don't have any worries at all with the trip. So that answers that question. Yeah.
I completely agree. I think both of you, when it comes to the mile, so I think Steve, when it comes to the mile, absolutely. I think there's enough to doubt whether he will get a mile on pedigree, with particularly being an R dad. But I think the way that he saw out his races over 6 and the way he raced, like you say, Adele, 7, I think you have to be encouraged. And I think the other really interesting point about the race, and I know that you're, given I've seen your lay, probably approaching it from a similar point. Angel Blue as a horse, yeah, dual Group 1 winner, looked class, last year, looked as though he progressed, looked as though he wanted cut in the ground. And that's, I think, enough of a reason to be against him and say that Perfect Power is a pretty strong bet for me, Adele.
Well, Perfect Power will know kind of handle the ground. Angel Blur definitely. I think he's definitely better with soft in the going. I remember him winning at Pontefract, but also Perfect Power. Like, look at the tracks he's won at. You know, Newmarket's quite stiff uphill finish. Hamilton's the same. Ascot's, you know, they're like their tracks. They're not sharp tracks. So he'll and not only that, he's picked up some valuable experience around them tracks as well. You learn a lot going running there. Word is he's working very, very well. This is my horse to follow for the season, this horse. And my only worry going into Saturday was Richard's form. He hasn't had the best early doors this year. I think he went 41 days without a winner. Huh?
Don't say that. I hadn't noticed that, really.
Yeah, he had until the last couple of days. They're fine. They're back into form. I don't know whether, you know, listen, all weather racing is kind of, it is what it is. So whether or not they just weren't very good, I don't know. But it was a worry coming into Saturday. But he had a lovely winner yesterday, and the horses look really well. And I've spoke to a few people in the yard, and they say he's working really, really well. So fingers crossed, like, I think. And Angel Blur's my lay bet for the weekend anyway. I think the ground's not soft enough for him.
Okay, Steve.
Yeah, after that, I want to change my mind now. I do think that Perfect Power, if he stays, has got a really exceptional chance. I've just gonna, on those stats, I'm going to take him on with Lusail, who I really liked last season, and I wouldn't hold it against him at Doncaster in the Champagne Stakes when he finished last of 4. I don't think it was the stamina that day. They went no pace at all. He was very keen, and I just forgive him that. And it was probably the ground was probably softer than ideal. It certainly was softer than it's going to be at Newbury. So before that, he won the Gym Crack in good style. I liked the way he won his previous start as well at Newmarket in the form of that. It stacks up as well because Symmetric was a really reliable 2-year-old running all those races. That was in the July Stakes. So he's got good form. And Lusail with Richard Hannon, who is a guy that often targets this race. I think he won it last year, didn't he, with Chindit? And I think Barney Roy won it a few years ago as well. So I'm hoping that he's back on his best, and if he is, I think he'll give Perfect Power something to think about. And I'm exactly the same as you guys. I don't think Angel Blue is the right favourite personally.
Right, let's tell you about the offer. So the offer is the ongoing offer now, which is the £30 welcome offer. It's money back as a free bet if your first bet loses. It is for new customers only. Use the bonus code INSIGHTS30, INSIGHTS30. If you place your first bet and it loses, Matchbook will refund your stake as a free bet up to £30. The full terms and conditions are on the website. 18+, be gamble aware. Sign-up offer is the £30 welcome offer. Money back as a free bet if your first bet loses. We move on to the 3:14 at Musselbrugh. It's the Queen's Cup 0-10. The Irish Raider with the Hot Pot Apprentice on board 5.0. It's slightly shorter actually. Enemy is 6.5, 7.5 Sarumi, 9.0 the max we can, and then bigger prices the rest. I'll just start with this by saying that, well, he's actually bigger than I thought, 0-10, but I still, profile-wise, he's just not my sort of play at all. He's almost, too obvious. On form, I'm not 100% certain this horse should be favourite anyway. So I set out that I wanted to be against, and I happened to chat to Ian Williams yesterday, who talked about a few horses that he'd picked up to go to Meydan with, who was excited about bringing them back to the UK. And this was one of them, Enemy, who, the yard are in good nick. He was, I suppose, disappointing with massive prices in 2 runs in group company at Meydan. But 99 back in handicap company, I think is interesting. I think the trip is probably what he wants. Not definitely, but I trust Ian Williams on that. The Muharrars tend to really stay. And I think that just on pedigree, I think perhaps a slightly sounder surface than he was encountering offeredly in France would be half interesting as well. So I thought he was a pretty solid win and place bet at 6.5. Adele.
Yeah, very similar. I mean, I kind of love Ian Williams in these kind of races. You know, we are guessing a little bit with a trip, but like you say, I have a lot of faith in Ian, so I think we'll be fine on that. I mean, I don't think he was overly disgraced, wasn't he, on his last run in Maydown? That was his first try at that trip, so I don't think it was too bad. I think it'll be a plus the fact that he's already had a couple of runs and he's had a bit of sun on his back as well, and especially with some of these northern horses, they're still a little bit backwards and certainly looking like they're needing their runs. So. Oh, it's a difficult race, isn't it? I look through and you start thinking, like, you go down to the bottom weights and you think, something might have just sneaked in on there. Mark Johnson's won it the last twice, and his horses are obviously always going to be on the front end. So Rumi, I didn't think run too badly at Doncaster with Raymond Tusk, but I just think Ian Williams is just a trainer that I think does very well with these kind of horses. So I wish he was a bit bigger, to be honest with you, price wise, but I'll just have a small win bet on him.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one, Steve.
Yeah, interesting that the stats for the top three boxes over this course and distance Musselbrugh are extremely strong. So I'm going to put up a horse that is drawn 13 or 14. But the last two winners...
And that won't stay. Go on.
The last two winners of this race were drawn 12 and 14. So, and it's Sarumi, who is ridden by Ross Orion, who I thought was exceptional last season, and I think he's going to be one of the stars of the summer in the saddle. I really think he's a top jockey, and he's going to get more opportunities. Now, Sarumi is another horse trained by Richard Hannon, and he did well last year, but he's unexposed at the distance. He ran over 1 mile and 6 at Haydock when he didn't really see the race out, but that was quite testing ground. And I think with another year, the fact he's a 4-year-old now, is going to help him. And he finished second to another of today's runners, Raymond Tusk, last time at Doncaster when he made the running. He was up there, which I don't think is a bad thing at Musselbrugh, even over this distance, because I don't think they can, excuse me, they can quicken from the back, these stayers at Musselbrugh, a track like that. So I thought that was quite a good starting point at Doncaster, because he was very badly in at the weights. He was kind of 10 or 12 pounds wrong at the weights with a lot of his rivals. He was the lowest rated horse in the field in that conditions race. So it was a good starting point. He should sharpen up for it. And it's a competitive race, but Sarumi, if he can get a decent position, must have some sort of chance.
Okay, that's Musselburgh done. Last at Newbury is the Spring Cup. Plenty of horses that contested the Lincoln going forward for this, including the unlucky third who heads the betting. Robert 4.6, Salem is 5.0, 7.8 Irish Admiral. Mon News, disappointing. He was the Team Steen last time, 8.6. Migration 9.6. Trade Fluid is 14.5. We'll leave it there. Are you sticking them with Etonian 18.0, special mention? You sticking with Mon News, Steve?
Yeah, I am. I thought the Lincoln was the logical race to focus on, really. That was obviously won by Johan, but there's a few in there that filled the places, like Seliem, who was up with the pace. Irish Admiral, who was up with the pace. Modern News was a bit further back in midfield, and he didn't get any daylight, I didn't think. I think he'd come from Dubai. Maybe second start back from Dubai might be a bit better. He didn't travel as well as he can, whether that was because he did get in a bit of trouble and he didn't see much daylight in the middle of the pack, and he got going a bit late, which was a bit of a surprise because he certainly has the pace for shorter trips, and I thought a mile would do him the world of good. Rogue Bear was third. It came from right out the back, but I thought was a bit flatter because he just came with one run on the stand side, never got stopped at all in the run, just had a smooth run and never really looked like winning. So I don't think it's impossible that Modern News can turn the form around. And the fact that Charlie Appleby he's operating at more than 50% strike rate in April, which is quite astonishing, even though they do have obviously a lot of short priced horses. But yeah, I thought I'm going to give Modern News one more chance, just like I didn't with Noble Yates.
Okay, Modern News for you, Adele.
I've gone for one. I think this horse would be a shorter price if it wasn't Nigel Tinkler as the trainer, to be honest with you. This is a really smart horse, this is Lakai. Really, really, really strong traveller over a mile. Very progressive last season. I'm not sure if anyone's seen him when he was second at York to a horse of John and Thady Gosden's. And do you know what? This horse he makes the running. He likes to go out on the front end, and that's why I thought he might just get it easy out on the front. He's very tough to pass, this horse. Even at York when he was beaten, he still was like he just doesn't know when to give up, and he was trying to come back. I just thought if he got out on the front end, I thought he just might get it easy, and he's a lovely big strong horse, and I think he's a cracking price. I think he would be shorter if he wasn't trained by Nigel Tinkler.
Okay, and I'm actually with a couple. So I've put in Etonian early, and I'm adding another one as well because I think she might be a fair old price on Matchbook. So first of all, I think the favourite's the right horse, and I was tempted, but she's just too obvious. Etonian, who I know was considered to be one of the top horses in the yard last year, and then it didn't work out on first start when nothing got into it from off the pace. In a way, that's worked out, albeit, and then something went wrong. We didn't see him for the rest of the season. He's feasibly very well treated. He might want further. He might need the run, but 18.0, I definitely want to play. And the other one, there can be a significant draw bias at this track where you want to be low and middle to far side. And I just want to try and exploit that. Three of Hannon's are drawn 1, 2, and 3. And the one I'm strongest about is Tia Delina. I think Jamie Spencer's a really good booking for her, and given her style, she's run well at the track before. I think she wants this trip. She's 20.0, so I'm going to back her as well, Tia Delina. I think I want to explore that draw bias, definitely. It doesn't always work out like that, but the last two winners have come from 2 and 1. Sorry, 2 and 3 even. Then we've had 16, 12, 1, 5. I think, as a rule, I'd rather be there. So that's the way I'm looking. Right. We're now moving on, just to confirm, Ishlakai, Modern News, Etonian, Tia Delina there. We're going to move on to the 310 at Fairyhouse. Early prices are as follows. Love Envoy, 2.88. Dino Blue, 6.2. Grangie, 6.5, as is Brandy Love. And then their bigger prices off the back of that. DC was on our WhatsApp group giving a special mention to DC. I know that. Adele, do you have any angle into this, or not necessarily? You don't have to.
I'm going in at DC's angle with Grangie. I actually think that she's crying out for the step up in trip on Sunday. I think that'll be the key to her. She hasn't had a head in front since winning a maiden hurdle, but she ran the best of all these horses at Cheltenham. Look, she was no match for Love Envoy, but I just think the step up in trip will help her on Sunday. So I'm hoping that's my angle with her. And what price was she?
She is fourth in 7.0.
7.0. So could even have a little go at her with a place market with that price as well. Small win bet.
My angle in is that the going I think might not be ideal for Love Envoy, and if she's favourite, I want to take her on. I think at that sort of price, 2.88, I would definitely be against. They nearly didn't run her at Cheltenham because of the ground, and then it rained and it came for her. Prior to that, heavy ground all the way through. I know she's looked so good. I don't know what I'm against her with, but if she's 2.88, I'll probably just have a small lay. Steve Jones.
I wanted to take on Love Envoy as well. Sorry, I was unmuting then. But I just couldn't make head and tail of it. I think she's way too short. probably put her down as a lay, to be honest, of the weekend. It's the only one I could come up with. But otherwise, yeah, I'm going to take a pass on this because I thought Brandy Love had a chance going to Cheltenham, but tends to jump left. And then you're thinking, I'd find it hard to predict which one of Willie Mullins' 8 finished first, let alone which one of the 16 ones. So I'm against Love Envoy, but I've no idea what's going to win.
Lovely. Gus, thanks for the Brandy Love porn star jokes. There'll be plenty of those. They're just the obvious ones, aren't they? Yeah, win by yeah, appreciate a stiff finish. Yeah, love it. Let's move on to the next of the grade ones.
I didn't even know that was what Brandy Love was.
You were sending us pictures of the WhatsApp group, Jones. Right. On we go.
A man or a woman?
4:55. So listen, Galopin Des Champs is 1.3. Master McShay's is 10.0. Riviere de Tel 12.0. Double figures the last 3. Just to touch on this, I think when I was playing a little, what price will Galopin be? I was thinking 4s on. Now, maybe that was way out. I sort of set up that I wanted to be against him in the sense that I know he's a monster, but he wasn't foot perfect at all of his obstacles. And a bigger field here, will it have dented his confidence last time? And then I just thought, he'll bolt up. So I'm not getting involved. Adele, can you find a bet here or not? And what do you make of the price 1.3 for Galopin?
I mean, it's good enough for me to take that. Any shorter and that's me out, basically. I mean, how so disappointing, wasn't it? Oh, honestly, my heart was broken for them, but that's jump racing. You've got to jump, unfortunately, and he didn't. So, but I mean, he could easily win by 25 lengths and we'll all be like, wow. But I at that price, I would probably have a little bit on him. But I have been liaising with DC and he's given me a couple of pointers as well for a few horses. I'll have to mention Master McShee, who apparently has been held back for this race. And he hasn't finished out of the 3 all season. Might not have the class to win it, but he's one to play at the place market, along with Gavin Alco as well, who was second and when he was supplemented for the Arkle. So I've got them too, just for the place market, because you're not going to win a huge fortune back, are you, off galloping? So
no. Well, just to add to Master McShea, 2 miles was too sharp for him last time. Interesting that they went there and didn't go back down the novice route. I think there's a case that he should be slightly shorter. I think he could be a play in the without market if there is one. Again, I think he's certainly most likely to finish second. Steve, I know you're a no bet. You don't have to say anything about this. We can move on if you want.
No, just win, winning.
Okay. Done. Probably, yeah. Okay, let's move on to the Irish Grand National. I haven't put my selections in the doc for this. I apologise. And nor have I got the odds up in front of me because that's how prepared I am. So, Steve, first of all, Irish Grand National, then I'll give you the prices of your selections. We don't have official decks, but we know what's likely.
If Mr. Fog Patches runs, then I'd be quite interested on him. He certainly stays. He's been running over long distances. He was 3rd in the Scottish National last year, then won over similar distance at Punchestown. And I thought he's been running well this year. In the Thigh Easters, when 3rd to Longhouse Poet, I thought that was a really good run. And he's been behind the likes of Run Wild Fred. And then he wasn't disgraced at all last time in the Kim Muir at Cheltenham. So in a race where I want to be with something at a bigger price. Danny Mullins rides him, who gets on well with him and is obviously shown that he's an excellent rider. I wanted something at a bigger price. I think the winner was 150 to 1, wasn't it? Free William Dillon last year. He won't be that price, I shouldn't think, unless he drifts horrendously. But it should be a nice price, Mr. Fog Patches.
26.0. Giles says it's a trends race. You've got to have less than 11 stone and preferably be 7 or 8 years old. I definitely followed that line on the ages of the horses. It tends to be a bit of an up and coming race. Adele.
Well, I've got one less than 11 stone. Off You Go, who was 6 in it last year, carrying 11 stone 5. So he might carry 10 stone 4. Depends obviously who's declared, but His jumping can let him down a little bit, so I probably would be keeping it for small stakes on him just in case. And then isn't there a lot of talk about Gaillard de Mesnil on Twitter about this horse for this race, like as if he's just going to win it. So I might follow the Twitter talk and have him on side as well.
34.0 for Off You Go. Gaillard is shorter, 9.0. My two were, I'm going to stick with Death Duty because, if Gordon Elliott was adamant he was well treated for a national, he unseated, maybe he didn't love those fences, but he didn't exactly have a hard race. So I wouldn't worry about coming back 9 days later. He could be perfect for this race off 144. I worry a little bit about the ground for him, maybe, but I definitely want him on side Death Duty at 21.0. The other one I really like, a stronger bet, is Lieutenant Command, who has a claimer on board. They've got a decent recent record in this. Owen Walsh, who's very talented. And he unseated last time when he may well have won. Prior to that, he was in much better company. He won at the track on his first start this year. So he goes well fresh. He's had 50 days off on good ground. He wants a sounder surface. And he shaped that day as though he'd get even further. Completely unexposed at the trip, but I don't mind that for this race. 8-year-old, under 11 stone. Not that I was thinking about the weight. But 34.0, I can see him running a big race. He's the horse I'm most excited about for the Irish National. Right, we move on to best lays. Adele, you've got one. Who's your best lay?
Angel Blur. I'm getting quite a villain, aren't I, with my lays? I'm glad no one's picked him. I mean, honestly, I felt so guilty laying Tiger Roll at Cheltenham. I was like, oh my God, how dare I? I was actually cheering for him to win, though, in the end. Oh, the poor thing. So Angel Blur for my lay. I don't think he'll win on the ground.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm against Love Envoy again on the ground at Fairyhouse if it holds up and is no worse than yielding. Steve, you got anything?
I'd be against Love Envoy, but whether I'd want to lay, I don't like laying it odds against, but she is very short for me.
Okay. Best bets. I'll go first. My best bet is Perfect Power because I'm following Adele in, but also because I think that actually 7 furlongs would be fine and I'm against Angel Blue. So Perfect Power for me. Adele?
Perfect Power for me as well. I'm just glad that Richard Fahey's horses have come back into some form of late, and I don't think the trip will be a problem for him. As soon as I've laid Angel Blur, and the next best is Perfect Power, so he's my best bet.
And Steve has picked a horse whose name he can't pronounce.
Yeah, that's daft, isn't it? So in the 204 at Musselbrugh, number 1, Giaiacieca. Giaiacieca.
Goya Checker for Steve.
Goya Checker. Sorry, yeah, Dees did say. He's Spanish, is he?
Yeah, Dees is Spanish. That's why he's got an accent above the A on his name. Thanks, everyone. Hope you've enjoyed that. Just the three of us, but we got through plenty across both codes and plenty of tracks in 3 days as well. Stay in touch over the weekend. Let us know who you fancy. Don't forget to put up your nap this weekend for the chance to win a £25 free bet. Just comment on any of the platforms we're on and you can win a £25 free bet with Matchbook. The winner will be selected at random. Insights will be up later today with all the best bets. Give us a like and a review. Bye-bye.